All right, good morning. How is everybody doing today on this fabulous Thursday? We are 2 days into September, so hope everybody is ready. And as always, we'll get started with introductions. My name is Jared. This is Engineering the Markets, and it is September 2nd, 2021. So, yesterday, relatively calm overall day in the general markets. We had some interesting sector strength that I want to call out from yesterday. When it comes to some of our largest sectors for the S&P 500, we often clarify that things like healthcare, technology, financials, and even to some degree, some of the secondaries that hold larger market caps like communications, which is making a new all-time high, along with consumer discretionaries, the likes of Tesla and Amazon, near all-time highs. So when the market is strong, we should see either one or multiple of these sectors in similar postures to the overall market, along with having potentially trending structures as the market has been in its strong uptrend. Yesterday, however, that was not necessarily the case. Some of our strongest sectors were, I would say, the tertiary sectors of the S&P, and due to both their size and also how the market perceives them as relatively lower risk, we are seeing some money flow come back into these areas, and it is something to watch moving forward. So we had the likes of utilities as one of our strongest daily sectors, making about a gain of 1.2 to 1.3%. And we also had real estate. So real estate has been trending and ultimately has been a strong sector getting stronger. But in terms of relative sizing and the perspective of it within the overall market condition and cycle, real estate is not necessarily the most risk on and aggressive sector for continuation in the S&P. So once again, as we discussed yesterday, new month and seeing where the money is flowing, we want to note that while we did have some strength in some of our stronger sectors like communications, the likes of Facebook and Google being the two key names here, Facebook making a new all-time high and Google making a new all-time high. We also want to note that one sector such as this cannot continue to carry the S&P higher without the assistance of one of our three main sectors. So as we've been watching healthcare pull back to the 20, and as we've seen some volatility in some key healthcare names, the likes of Pfizer, which has at the moment put in some sort of buying climax similar to what Moderna did. And we're even seeing volatility come across the wire. Stocks like AbbVie had some intraday volatility come across. And while this was a great intraday trade, both long and short, it does put a damper on the overall healthcare market if the stock is to begin downtrending. So healthcare may be a bit out of play back to the upside, and this is becoming more and more evident as we look on something like the weekly. We're getting the potential for this market to pivot, and we do have a fairly, I would say, agreeable bearish engulfing candle, ultimately looking for that to confirm in the next week or two with closure below this range. So if healthcare is not our spot to watch, what about technology? Technology continues to be an area that the market considers as a potential deflationary interest. A lot of our conglomerate names are still quite strong, likes of Apple, similar to our communication sector, making new highs, but not closing strong on the session. We're seeing potential daily turnaround plays, bearish candles near the highs, and we'll talk about that in the grand scheme of the NASDAQ in just a moment. the likes of Microsoft as well, not making new highs and ultimately struggling to push forward, unlike Apple. So, with NASDAQ and with our tech sector, we talked about this idea of potential channel resistance that the NASDAQ is coming into. It's actually something to where a 1 year daily doesn't almost cuts it off exactly. So we may need to bring up a 2 to 3 year just to see the connection points. But the NASDAQ is at a decision point right here. We would like to see continuation for the bulls, but as the trend has beginning more and more aggressive, and as we've been seeing less of pullbacks in this market, we ultimately need bulls to continue that momentum and maintain trend in order for it to be sustained near previous resistance. Ultimately looking for some sort of channel breakout, and ideally in that breakout, eventually coming back to back test the upper resistance and transform it into an area of support. So what's the issue with what some of the price action was yesterday, and how can we interpret that moving forward? Well, if we shift into a shorter time frame, we can see that the NASDAQ started off the morning quite strong. We actually had a push in the morning rally. We ended up pushing to new all-time highs. But then we see this distribution area of the market, essentially a lack of directionality and range compression in the form of a pennant. Intraday, as we were watching this, we were essentially looking to see if the market was about to make a decision away from this pennant and ultimately to set the stage for the next round of movement. And of course, midday, we did see a breakaway and a fade into not only the new low of day, but also closing quite weak overall. So as we move forward and as we are at this decision point, the NASDAQ and ultimately tech stocks in general are something to continue to keep on watch, because when it comes to decision making points in the market, oftentimes we want to be careful not, I would say, cherry picking too many intraday or daily sections to put on trades. But there are moments, especially when it comes to these larger structures, where understanding the price action and ultimately seeing who's in control at these pivotal areas can let you put on great risk to reward trades, along with the fact that we're looking for confirmation to go against trend. So as the NASDAQ is in this position, we simply want to note that while there was some selling, we really haven't lost any sort of semblance of trend. And ultimately on our most aggressive trend line, we are currently simply skirting this area. So keeping all this in mind, the larger channel, the most aggressive trend line, and ultimately what we saw in the first session of September, we want to note that while it was a fairly bearish afternoon in the NASDAQ, after a morning sort of push and then a fade away from that pennant structure, we are still at a point where the market can decide to go higher. We have not lost trend. We're still seeing a lot of confluence of moving averages and the overall posture being bullish. But if any of this starts to break down, the speed of the breakdown and ultimately the control of the bears can be proven quite quickly. So we're at an inflection point, in my opinion, and using something as simple as the past couple of sessions ranges to decide whether bulls want to continue this move higher or ultimately start to crack this range, using yesterday as a potential daily pivot and leading the market just once again to our normal posture of, can the market pull back to what has normally been structural support, something like the 20 period, which the market responds to quite well in regards to the NASDAQ. Um, as things change, and if we get these breakdowns, we look for lower targets. We have trend line areas to consider. But if nothing is proven, we continue the thesis that this channel resistance may be about to break. And if it does break, expect larger movement above, as the breakout should be facilitated by short covering. So these are all things to consider for the next session or two. We only have one period of, I would say, decision, and none of it has been confirmed. So let's keep that on watch and move forward with both theses in mind. The SPY overall, nothing really to report. Tighter ranges overall. We're also seeing some similar channel structures here, but they're not in place for quite as long as the overall NASDAQ. You want to be looking somewhere in this range and sort of projecting out to see how well defined this channel is, and ultimately looking to see if the market is going to pull back from here or once again start to accelerate above channel and form new trend structures above. This is when markets can sort of shift from slower momentum to higher momentum if we get these channel breakouts. The IWM continues to push higher. Thesis here is that we're seeing movement away from VPOC. We're seeing moving averages starting to realign from 2050 200. And we're also seeing a lot of bullish volume on ignition days, days where we have strong uptrends, whereas pullbacks or consolidation periods are met with slightly lower volume. Understandably, the target is still the range highs, as this market has not broken out yet, but we are seeing posturing as if that target is reasonable. And then finally, our Dow, once again, nothing really of note, sort of skirting the 20. We're going to keep that one just in the back pocket, but ultimately no action at this time. Okay, so a couple of things from yesterday as well. We did see some follow through in our China names. We're looking at the potential for the most recent high volume low that has been placed to be, I would say, supported, or at the very least respected in the short term. A lot of names had already bounced past this low point. The likes of BABA was actually one of our laggards. And when it comes to just a simple bounce and then the first reactionary high, this is sort of the key level that the market is attempting to break. You often see sharp sell-offs, reaction highs, maybe a bit of consolidation in between, and then the eventual breakout or breakdown. This is important to set sentiment, and ultimately this can also start to change shorter term trends. You can see that BABA is trying to move away from this reactionary high, and given that it is our laggard, the likes of JD, which has already recovered from those lows. Pull it up to a daily to show. That is, of course, with earnings in the background as well. The likes of PDD moving well away from its reactionary highs. Billy, Baidu, and a number of other key names with something like a GXC ETF showing the overall confirmation, FXI, and then for those looking at Brian's swing trading review, KWeb as a proxy for some of the internet-based companies, and even something as simple as a Shanghai exposured ETF like Asher, showing continuation strength from high volume lows. So the China market does appear to be in the short term recovering. We have noted that each of these high volume events has been both a trade opportunity along with the potential posturing if we get follow through. And ultimately, with our laggard stock being BABA, one of our largest holdings in some of these ETFs as well, seeing confirmation away from this range is certainly going to facilitate some potential short covering and also the ability for the market to potentially change trend. We still have not quite done so, and ultimately this is going to take a bit of time. But if you look at the weekly, we have the pivot structure needed to form a trend change. Okay, so as it is Thursday, and as I've promised us a few sessions, we're going to take a quick look at a comparison between two potentially unrelated areas of the market, but ultimately similar in both technical structure and potentially projecting some potential thesis on a market that has not quite evolved yet. So we brought up this idea that a stock like NEO, high growth, high speculation, and ultimately had what most would consider a blow off top in recent history, buying climax, along with a lot of distribution like patterns. This stock and ultimately how it formed bears a lot of similarities to specifically the Bitcoin chart. And what I wanted to do is just go through this exercise, both as a technical example of how to think about larger term structure and analysis, but also using this as a proxy or sort of a map to see what are some scenarios that could play out. And ultimately, if they play out, how would you prepare if all of the signals do appear to be the same? So let's start off with our highest time frame on NEO. And let's just note that NEO, as far as data, does not go back as far as something like Bitcoin. But we note that NEO was relatively unknown in the overall market for quite a while. We saw very limited range on the monthly from its first data point. And even more notable, we saw that the market actually traded below this area for a period of time. So periods of weakness, we're not seeing a lot of volatility in this name. Overall candle structure is smaller, but we note that this can potentially be the market accumulating. We're seeing smarter money get in near the lows and ultimately posturing in such a way to not respond to the market and alert as to the accumulation effect. Smart money often does this by simply muting the price action and keeping things relatively stable near price levels that they wish to accumulate at. And ultimately, once they have their position fully established, they often begin reporting on a stock, noting the potential upside, the potential future catalyst, and overall profitability in the case of a company, along with the fact that market conditions start to change in favor of the particular asset. NEO, of course, saw a lot of upside with the EV sort of hype that came around, both with Tesla, but also just a sort of a reckoning of a lot of companies potentially having EV exposure or becoming a mainstay in the market space like Tesla proved to be. So market, of course, becomes alerted. We see a reactionary change in the volume. We see that bulls are starting to come in, and markets often shift from a period of sort of level 4 or just range bound accumulation to a level 1 uptrend. Often, as a technical trader, we're just thinking higher highs, higher lows. Each and every month, we're seeing upside. We're seeing the market continue to buy dips, and demand is far exceeding supply. So the market continues to rally. Price obviously reflects that interest in the stock. And as we shift into the weekly, pull up the 3-year, we have some pretty clear signals that the market is starting to accumulate and reaccumulate on the way up. We'll pull up an aggressive EMA just to show the overall trend structure, but overall, pretty clear that NEO had a very strong uptrend back in time. Now, as things start to become overheated, and ultimately as the market is ready to start selling its previously accumulated position, we often start to see high volatility near the highs. Oftentimes you can smooth this with something like a log-based chart because the percentage gains and losses day to day or week to week are relative to the current price. But the overall volatility in perspective of the candle ranges on a non-logarithmic chart, along with the fact that we're starting to see sharper moves from high to low, larger percentage declines, wider ranges, and ultimately the market is trying to find the area of highest supply to begin to distribute some of its profit. This is where smart money is often getting out, selling to some of the last round of retail and FOMO-based buyers. And while there is still momentum to capture, the idea here is that the market is ready to turn around. It's simply finding that inflection point. And once something as simple as a trend line starts to break, we see larger downside corrections. So the structure here and the fact that we note this as something like head and shoulders, something like M tops or double tops, the fact that all of these buying climaxes set upper tests or just areas for the market to keep the price relatively range bound in order for smart money to begin to sell. All of these concepts just come together in the form of a chart. And we see things a bit differently because we're seeing the after effects. The goal, of course, is to note when this is occurring and to be either cautionary or ultimately protective of previous profits when the market is doing these structures. So NEO, of course, sold off quite heavily. From high to low, we did see approximately a 50 to 55% decline as it went from 67 down to, on the first sell-off at least, a low of 32. So definitely more than 50%. Market stabilized. We see that something like a longer term moving average comes into play, something like a 200, or even on the weekly, you may see the 50 come into play for the first time in the accumulation uptrend. You see things like lower tests. Market is looking like it's downtrending, and ultimately the weakness here can be seen throughout some of the movements of the overall range. But also note that from low to high, we are stabilized in this area. It may be a large range for us to sort of accustom ourselves to, but this area of interest technically did not get fully tested until we got here. Now, of course, this looks as if it's going to break down. We see a lot of downside weakness from a midpoint into this area, but market reaction and overall sentiment changes once again, and we see sort of a corrective move back into previous range highs and even extending beyond. Now, here's where things get a little subjective based on the chart, but we also come to test something like a previous swing low. And while this move is attractive, it's definitely a corrective move from a crash. We also note that on this impulsive test of resistance, the market was unable to break out. And during this test, we see that the downside not only brings us back into our previous range, but even more still, we're seeing failures at the range resistance once coming back in, and then the eventual downtrend starting to form once again with our moving averages all pointing in the same direction. So the structure of this chart is something that's formed. It's in history. It's something we can analyze after the fact. And whether you took advantage of some of the trades or investments in NEO, obviously there was a lot of opportunity back in time, and ultimately there still is on intraday and shorter time frames. But now let's take a look at something like the Bitcoin chart. And let's talk about all of those similarities that we are seeing inside of what has occurred in Bitcoin. If I could get it back to modern times. So we know with Bitcoin's past few cycles, we've seen some buying climax highs into longer term accumulation phases, essentially bear markets in the crypto space. Now, during these ranges, there are certainly trading opportunities, large retests, and ultimately sharp declines, something like the COVID lows actually breaking down the overall range that was established. But in short order, there really isn't much in terms of what we saw prior. It's not the same sentiment, it's not the same bullish movement, and we're not ultimately trending. We are in a large accumulation range with some extensions in between. As we break out, let's shift this to a monthly just to see structure here. We get our extension, same thing as NEO. We see multi-month movement on the monthly with higher highs and higher lows. Each of these candles showing acceptance of previous closure and also getting away from previous highs. That first breakout, of course, signaling the move away from the accumulation range. On weekly time frames, we see things like reaccumulation zones, points where the market ultimately does find a short-term high, pulls back, but the market never really fully reverses. We actually see continuation along with structure inside of this shorter term accumulation range. And then finally, as we shift into our daily, we see the distribution, the head and shoulders, something like a Wyckoff schematic distribution, something with buying climax highs, reactionary lows, upper tests, and signs of weakness. That, of course, leads to crashes as trend lines are broken. Very clear double swing low support that was broken, leading to a 50% crash. We see that automatic reaction, and then we get some of these trading ranges forming from low to high with different types of tests. Now, of course, every market is going to be slightly different. And while this low to high was actually tested a few times, we see the same sign of weakness inside of this range, very clear, just bleed back into the lows, and then a sharp rally throughout the range, forming new trends, and ultimately coming into previous swing low resistances. So all of this coming together and just looking at it as a technical analysis and evaluation of dissimilar markets that have formed in similar ways. The idea here is that NEO has already gone through this cycle and is ahead of what the Bitcoin chart is currently showing. If there is structural similarities, and if we see the same reactions, especially near swing low resistance, which we are coming into, along with something like trend line resistance that has turned resistance after breakdown, we see similar reactions to this. Keep in mind that what NEO's chart did is the potential for a technical chart like Bitcoin to potentially do. It shows the downside potential inside of the chart. All of this, of course, not confirmed. None of it is showing yet, but the idea is here is outside of technical tool projection. You can also use similar chart analysis to review a similar chart and see what the opportunity looks like, both to the upside in terms of low to high, along with the potential downside, which of course has not happened at this time. So with that said, there's certainly more shorter term analysis or short time frame analysis you can do. And there are a lot of stock charts that actually look very similar to NEOs. A lot of momentum, I would say speculative names had very similar highs, very similar downside corrections. A lot of these names are putting in additionally similar patterns. We're seeing rejection near some of the higher resistance points and then additional pullback downside, usually back into these trading ranges where the crash first occurred. So keep all this in mind. Use the time if you're in the crypto space to analyze what could happen. And obviously look for confirmation. We're still seeing bullishness in the crypto space. It's not necessarily contained to Bitcoin, as we have the likes of Ethereum, Solana, and ADA as some of our key leading stocks right now, all clearing previous highs along with plenty of continuation and trend structure in their move. But with all of this and keeping the larger picture of Bitcoin as sort of the gauge of health in this market, note what can happen and note how to be prepared if it does. I guess, pretty much with that said, trade safe, go into the market with an open mind of what could and could not happen. And given that we are on the verge of a holiday, I'll just say happy Labor Day to everybody. We should not be online come Monday. So along with engineering the market, I'll see y'all on Tuesday of next week. As always, my name is Jared. This is engineering the markets. Trade safe, stay risk adverse, and stay tuned for pre-market prep. So see y'all soon.
Hey, good morning, Norm. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, good morning, buddy. I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm doing fantastic. Oh, man, getting things going up here in the morning. Had a pretty good trading day yesterday. You end up getting into anything good yesterday?
Nothing too crazy, man.
Nothing too crazy? Right on. Well, today we seem to find ourselves with some pretty decent stuff on the gap up here, which looks like we could have some fun. I'm seeing a couple of things in here. I recognize some Bitcoin stuff looking like, maybe a few other things rocked in there. My buddy Baba's on there. That's who I caught a good trade on yesterday, and a little bit on the gap down. So we've definitely, for 834, we already got a pretty good amount of stuff on here. So looks like pretty interesting otherwise. Let's check out the SPY here. Right now, on the SPY, it looks like we kind of like tested in pre-market 450, and now we're pushing up pretty well. Maybe going to try and break out a little bit more today. SPY has been on for me, a surprisingly strong uptrend the past couple of days, although a little squishy the past, I guess, but otherwise not too bad. Some of our players yesterday, I know Jared had watched TLRY and a couple of the stocks kind of off the pot sector, had a little bit of a move on those. Like I said, I watched Baba yesterday. I got a really nice, $4 or $5 move out of Baba as it rallied. Today, Baba finding itself gapped up again above the average. So, in Jared's engineering the market, he had some pretty interesting information in there about seeing some of this sector Chinese stocks bouncing a little bit. I think that'll be cool. We were also watching EVs to see what was going to happen with some of these EV stocks, and interestingly enough, almost all of them bounced. So, it looked like everything was poised for a really hard sell on some of the chip shortage news yesterday, Norm, and then everything bounced. What's going on today? Anything interesting
You're
over
not
there? I'll
you're not
roll it.
you're not sharing your screen in the room.
Oh, my bad.
Check that out.
I got it. Sorry about that, everyone.
Um,
There we go.
it's on YouTube, but not in the room. No, we just had some data come out. All the data for the day just came out this morning. Big thing we had: jobless claims, continuing claims, productivity, and unit labor costs all came out. We got a little bit of a pop on volume on the SPY on that, moving more than it has all morning. Still, this morning, kind of yesterday was the anomaly with a decent sized gap and a little bit higher volume. This morning, volume's relatively low. Guys, thank you for the super chats. Andrej, Nathan, all that being matched by dollar for dollar by Andrew going to cure childhood cancer this month. So thank you. So anyway, like I said, we had all that data drop at 8:30. What we've got left, factory orders at 10 a.m. And going into a holiday weekend, we'll see if we get much action today. Our gappers list a little bit longer than I would have expected. As you mentioned, there's a chunk of them on here that are Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not up a ton this morning. It's up 0.5%. But the fact that it is over 50,000, I think, is what's getting these a little bit. My guess is, I haven't looked at all the cryptos, but my guess is they're probably up as well, which is helping that move. So.
Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, good to know those are moving. I know a lot of people are into that. I will profess that I have never, still to this day, actually owned a Bitcoin or any type of anything related to that. The only Bitcoin I actually own is this one that I show you on my screen, which is just kind of it's a fidget, for when I'm sitting around trading or whatever. Not as cool as this coin though. I might say. But anyway, let's go ahead and we'll let's take a look at get this watch list cleared out here real quick. We'll get into some new stuff, see what's coming up here and what we find, and then we'll go from there. So let's see. First off, we have CHPT. Not sure I've seen this. ChargePoint Holdings. I don't know if I've seen this ticker before, but definitely got something
We've had it
going
on the list before.
Has it?
Yeah, they do elect EV charging stations and networks. They had earnings last night, popping on that.
I like the accumulation that it had yesterday with the big volume. That's pretty nice. Big gap today. So this should be really interesting to see what happens on this. I'll definitely be taking a look at this one a little bit later. Looks like we have GSM on the list. That's Ferroglobe. And has been on a straight rally the past few days. Float 77.5, so not horrific float. But we have it gapping up here, now making a move into $11. So pre-market action, I mean, there's volume in some spots, but really wicky and kind of hard to read directional bias here.
Yeah, this is a ticker out of the UK. They usually trade like garbage because of the foreign exchange issues associated with that. And generally, on average, it trades less than 1.5 million shares a day. So,
all right, so that doesn't sound spectacular.
Yeah, it's trading. I mean, hell, it's almost traded that entire amount this morning already. I'm just not
Yeah,
expecting a lot out of it,
yeah,
frankly.
exactly. All right. Support.com still hitting the charts. For me on support, it's it had the big spike and it's been just kind of gently selling off. I would have trouble trading this one until it kind of gets some volume and makes a move. Anything new on support, Norm, or is this just doing what it's been
Same
doing?
old, same old.
Yeah. DQ, I was really hoping this was like Dairy Queen or something like that because that would have just made me happy. But it's DAQO, New Energy, an acronym for an acronym. I like it. We do find ourselves with a gap up. We kind of had a strong engulfing bar and then two pullbacks, both lighter volume, and then the jump. So that looks pretty good on the daily chart as far as just action goes. Any news on DQ?
This unfortunately is not DQ that you're talking about. This is a solar company out of China. I really don't see anything.
Yeah.
They did get a downgrade yesterday, so I don't know if or day before yesterday. I don't know if that's playing into it. It doesn't have a ton of volume. The 1 minute chart looks horrible. This has
Yeah.
popped up on our gappers list before, and it really hasn't had many redeeming qualities to it.
I was just about to mention the order flow on the 1 minute chart looks horrible. I'm probably gonna pass on DQ then. Let's see here. Getting our Bitcoin stuff going. Bit Digital BTBT. Still a little light
Now
on
I'm
the
hungry,
volume.
by the way.
Say that again.
Now I'm hungry, by the way.
Hey, lunch is coming. Let's do this. Let's BT. We're getting a little bit of a move up. Norm already mentioned Bitcoin's like not necessarily up per se, but it's above a level that a lot of people are probably interested in. So you see
Yeah, and
BT.
a lot of the other stuff. Ethereum's up 2% this morning. I think Bitcoin's up 3-ish%, and over 50,000, or at least it has been. At the moment, yeah, it's just above 50,000. And then you've got some of the other ones, some of the other coins. Almost said the S coin stuff popping. So
Right on. So pop over to Mara, kind of the same thing going on. Not great volume on this one or order flow in the beginning, so it might be something to just keep an eye on if it pops up on the scanners later. Maybe get into. Nicola in the house. I've traded this one before and had some moderate success on some days. I know WSB got in on this one at one point a while ago too. I like the bounce from value on the daily little gap here. Anything interesting going on with NKLA?
sorry, I got distracted for a minute. Let me go back to my notes. Yeah, they announced this morning strategic agreement with Bosch for fuel cell manufacturing. So a little bit of something there showing they might be an actual company that
Yeah,
might
they
actually
got
make
work.
something
How about
worth
that? They
it.
got a job.
Yeah,
That's cool.
it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that. It is surprising how long some of these companies can just exist. I actually worked for one for a long time in the IT field, and we generated this RFID technology, but the company never actually made money. I mean, we'd install it places and we'd do stuff, but by the time you looked at the books, we were always negative equity. It was just, you're like, how long can this happen? Early job in my 20s. JKS moving up.
Push a fake truck downhill.
Yeah, look at the speed. And then it went uphill. I think they pulled it uphill with a winch, didn't they, or something like that?
Yeah, it was a mess. I can't even remember.
That was so funny. Jinko Solar. All right. Interesting name. Pre-market action, not great. Fairly low, like 36 mil float, not great. Very bank held by a lot of banks. I don't know. It is moving up and gapping away from VWAP. Anything worth of note on JKS here? I'm not really that into it, but
Intraday, this thing trades like garbage. It had a hell of a run. This is one that Carlos and I looked at. I believe it was last year. It was almost just like a straight walk uphill for months at a time. If you go back in the daily, you can probably see that anyway. This is another Chinese solar company, and they had some agreement with another company, but it's really usually does not trade all that well. be tempted myself to leave this for scanners.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can see you probably get just some interesting action. It looks like it's doing most of its gapping after hours. When it does move, it's always really
Yeah.
early. So cool. All right. Any. I think Any was on yesterday a little bit. Any had a bit of a push. Now it's this was doing this yesterday or the previous day. Now I really don't like this big upside down hammer, and now it's pressing on lower volume. It'll be interesting to see any pre-market action, a little volume, but definitely not something I'm into. This is Fear 3D. Anything cool about Any?
Not anything cool, no.
Not anything cool. All right, I like it.
Yeah.
All right, Riot. I hit some. Well, Riot's going to be in with our Bitcoin guys. We got this Riot. I actually like a little bit more just chart wise because I like that Riot has this really kind of clean upside area that it's hitting. Of all of them, I might actually throw Riot on here to look in a little bit and see if some volume. It actually is the least just horrible looking in the pre-market, although still really check marked and really not great. But if any of them would be it, I do Riot. Can just bumped its way into my in front of Riot. Canon Inc. Pre-market's horrible on this one. Daily just consolidating, not really into Can unless it has something notable. BITF also not looking great. 118 mil float on this one, but it's a $6 stock. Hasn't moved much for days. Doesn't look like it's moving much now. Not really into bit farms. Oh, this is another Bitcoin one. That explains that. It's going to be a lot of that on this list. So for some of you guys, later I'll ask for a couple of tickers. If you really want me to go through one of these Bitcoin ones, I will. But right now, I mean, they're basically all the same thing with the same catalyst. So just keep an eye on that. FCUV, Focus
Just
Universal.
run, dude.
This thing has it was, let's see. I mean, downtrending in the pre-market fairly regularly. Big volume yesterday. And then gap this morning and then selling off. What do you think about FCUV? Anything?
I think run.
I think run.
No,
high?
I no. In reality, I'm pretty. I'm
kind of nervous just
I
looking
think
at
they
it.
they just got listed on the exchange. I think there's something they used to be maybe. It's weird. I mean, they obviously the daily looks horrendous, and then yesterday they picked up steam and had that. I
Peter
would
was
have
saying
to see what's going on here.
I think they IPO'd again. It's a
Yeah,
second
well,
IPO.
I think what were they on Pink Sheets or something?
Yeah, something like that. Peter
Over
was
the
just saying that.
OTC, and then they actually got listed on an exchange, kind of. Yeah, so it's a weird situation. I don't know what I'd do there.
Probably wouldn't fit my edge. That's for sure. Let's see. MTCH is Match Group Inc. Pre-market is not happening at all right now, but the daily does have an interesting bump here. We'll leave that one and see if something comes in, but the daily's nice, but I got no volume to indicate this thing's really of that much interest at the moment. Baba was my good buddy yesterday. I got a really good run on Baba, so I'm gonna keep Baba on the list today because I think some of these China stocks may continue this recovery that they're going into. But right now the pre-market is not fantastic. You're gapped above R4 and you're just in this really, really narrow line. But what I would be looking for would be for it to actually hold R4 and break out. If we lose it, I might look for it to give up some of those gains. So I like Baba. Any notable news there, or are we just part of that whole bounce?
I didn't see anything especially great on it.
IQIYI. Wow. No volume in the pre-market, so not feeling IQ. Is IQ another one that's bouncing for the same reason? Is it a China listed one?
Yeah.
The China stocks? Yeah. So it's kind of doing that. Yesterday, it actually had a pretty nice run. Yesterday, so especially in the morning, it really moved. So might be worth looking back at this one later if some volume comes in. But right now, I'll stick with some other ones. And then VIPS does not look great. It's not kind of same thing. TIGR. Wish. I wish would trade better, but it doesn't. Pre-market also looks horrible. All right, I'm gonna stick away from the gap up. I'm gonna move over to the gap down. One thing that I really like to do, guys, is if you have a ton on the gap up list, I tend to like to go to the gap down list. Because if you got a whole bunch of stocks that are all gapping up in the market, the ones that are gapping down are often the ones that are actually in play, right? Because they're moving against the market. So they normally have to have some kind of a catalyst or something going on, right? So AEO, which is American Eagle, this looks fairly earnings kind of gap action here. But they find themselves gapping really far down. I mean, big run right there and consolidating down. Plenty of volume. AEO might be worth watching today. What's going on
Earnings
with
this
AEO?
morning.
Yeah, earnings. So, I mean, you generically only get gaps like this on a retail stock after earnings. That or they announced that they were closing all their brick and mortar, but I figured I was better at, although I guess it could have went either way. Chewy, big gap down on Chewy. Had a lot of, look at this. Look at when you watch the volume here on the daily level, y'all. Look at this big volume candle here, distributed like crazy yesterday, and then today, big gap down, boom. So Chewy obviously moving. What's going on with Chewy today? Say earnings deal.
Earnings.
Yeah.
Last night.
Get a couple more here. Didn't put too many low floats on today, which is nice so far. AI. I just assumed this was Amon's index, but apparently it is C3.ai. So pre-market action. Not I kind of throw it in the meh category. It's not that there's nothing there. It's just we kind of had a little movement and then we just kind of stopped. We are gapped down here. Anything noteworthy on AI?
Yeah, they had earnings last night.
Okay. Well, we'll throw it on there. Just maybe grab some levels. B Big has been on for a few days. I've seen some good trades on B Big. It had this big candle move yesterday, and some traders took advantage of this, both long earlier and then short from the top. Anything new on B Big, or are we just kind of doing the same?
I think we're in the same spot with it.
Right
It
on.
just keeps it one of those that lingers on.
Yeah, he just stays in play for a little while as everyone kind of gets over it. SQBG, Sequential Brands Group. Really big buy-up candle yesterday. Today finding itself a little gap down, maybe giving up a bit for another run. This is super low float territory to wholly low float territory, 1.1 million. Doesn't get much smaller than that. So you have to keep that in. I'll throw it over in the super low float category area on the montage if anyone wants me to pull levels on that later. Anything notable here other than, just scary, or what do you got, Norm?
I didn't really dig into this
Yeah.
one. It has something to do with Jessica Simpson, and when I saw that, I ran.
You're like, all right, I'm out.
Yeah.
And I'm done. And last but not least, Alterian Inc. Finds itself moving up in a little bit in the pre-market and now giving some of that back. It looks like it's been awake and trading for the past few days. Lots of volume. Had a big push yesterday, now finding itself gap back down. Actually kind of setting up a continuation kind of posture on this one. If it can hold here in the top half of this candle and move up. Anything notable going on ATR? Looks like it's been playing for a few days.
It has been. I don't see anything really exciting or fresh in the last couple of days on it. So
cool. All right. Well, we got a couple in the room. Anyone want to? Anyone got some stock tickers they want me to look at? I'll take 2 from the main room, and then I'll take 2 from the YouTube. Hello, everyone out there in YouTube, by the way. Hi, how are you doing? Let's see. We got Apple. I always like looking at Apple. And AMC coming out of the room. And then out of the YouTube, I'm getting Tesla and HRC.
Now, pick another one other than HRC. HRC is a cash buyout.
All right, no HRC. Cash buyout is no bueno. We will not play that one. HRC, is that MU? I always am willing to look at MU. All right, and MU. Some names I know and recognize. All right. So Apple had a big push a few days ago. Now finds itself consolidating for a potential another leg up. Apple's been doing really nice since it broke out from this area. It's been doing good things, so I'm going to keep an eye on this one. We already find ourselves, however, moving up really high in the range, so we'll have to watch on this one. But I do like Apple. We do have some volume coming in onto it, although I would like to see a little bit more. So we are rallying on relatively low volume, so be prepared for this thing to squeeze and fade potentially. But I like it. AMC always is doing a little something. I know Jared has basically like paid his mortgage, I think, the past 2 months, just nailing AMC. Norm. And but right now we find ourselves kind of topped out in the pre-market and kind of making it looks like kind of a descending pattern here a little bit. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Right in the dead center of the pivot ranges though. So we're going to need to let AMC probably sell or buy for a little bit before we'll be able to make decisions on it. Tesla, I was kind of thinking would do something a little bit more yesterday, and it did nothing. And I mean nothing. It almost opened and closed at the same price, a couple pennies difference, and this would have been a black candle. So we need to keep an eye on that. It was low volume, so I wouldn't necessarily say this is signaling some kind of a failure, but it certainly signals a lack of interest in the stock yesterday. And considering EV bounced a lot yesterday, I find that a little surprising. But it'll be worth keeping an eye on. But we do have a narrow pivot range on Tesla today, so there is some opportunity for breakout. But right now we need more volume and we need a clear direction. Last one, and then we will pop over to some community announcements. Let's take a look at our buddy MU. MU finds itself kind of curling over a little bit on the daily. Pre-market action, we need much better on that. So let's wait for a little volume to come in on this thing. And then again, another one of these stocks that's just been kind of chopping and consolidating these incredibly narrow ranges. So it's only moving like a buck or two a day. So you're going to have to wait for it to get to an extreme, either a high or a low, and play the reverse of it to get some good profit. All right, so I am going to pop over to the community announcements. Norm's going to run a little bit through the happenings, and then we will come back and we will get us some moves.
Yeah, before we get into that, and can you pop over to your screen again and pull up HRC before we go through that?
Absolutely.
HRC looks a little bit different than most. I've heard a number of people mentioning HRC. It's got a catalyst. So the reason we don't trade these, especially cash buyouts, usually if it's stock, it has a better potential to move. They just like it. So HRC was trading at $145 yesterday ish. And it's being bought out, I believe, at 156. And it'll pop to that level of the buyout announced and usually just sit there. HRC is moving a little bit higher because it hasn't made the entire move yet. Who knows where it'll stop? It's not going to go to the whole 156. I have not read the papers on this. I don't know when they anticipate the actual transaction taking place. But if you've ever owned stock in a buyout of a company being bought out for cash, you know that it doesn't do anything. Essentially, that's dead money once that move is made, because nobody's going to pay the full 156 right now and just have their money locked up for no reason. Mm-hmm. People are going to sell the stock and get out of it just below the acquisition price. Somebody will. Your rate of return on that, you could probably throw it in a bank account usually and make about the same thing in a savings account with like 0.00002% interest. So anyway, they want to free up their money to be able to put it to work somewhere else, something that might actually move. That's why it won't go the whole distance, but generally these cash buyouts will just peg to that price or just below it and just trade in a straight line all day. Occasionally you might have one that does something different, but it's pretty rare. Anyway,
especially with it already gapped so far up towards that level. I mean, it's how are you going to manage the risk and how much reward do you even expect to get out of it? It's a good point.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
all right, all yours. Buddy.
All right. Yep, your tape reading 101 webinar is posted. If you weren't able to catch it live, that's in the Education Center for your viewing enjoyment. Next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m., you've got Kyle doing part 2 of his Using Bookmap to Assist in Trading webinar. Dr. Kenneth Reed's Bad Habits webinar should be posted. If it's not, it will be later today. It will be very soon. And then next week, we're going to have Kreda back from her maternity leave talking about understanding your money mindset. That'll be Wednesday, 5 p.m. Note the special time, 5 p.m. Eastern, because of her time zone. All right. All the super chat, super sticker revenue from YouTube and on our giving page on the website, bearbulltraders.com/giving for September is going to cure childhood cancer. Very near and dear to a couple of us in the room. This topic, this subject, I know Tiffany has a family friend that is affected by this. My best friend growing up, son, was born with a very rare form of cancer. Luckily, he's still with us, but defied the odds. So these guys help doing research on childhood cancer. And I will have either tomorrow or Monday, I will have the total absolute correct number from what we got for August, and we'll have that info and share it. All right, if you want to participate in Member Trade of the Day, Trade of the Week, take a screenshot of your best trade of the day posted on Twitter, tagging at Bearable Traders, at MikeB_BBT, and at NormBBT. Also use hashtags BBT Family, Day Trading, and Stock Market. We will announce the winner on the Closing Bell in the Closing Bell show, which is in the room, and on Twitter. And then all the trades of the day are eligible for Trade of the Week, which is voted on by the team and announced on Monday. If you're on YouTube, first, we sincerely appreciate any of the thumbs up, the likes you can give us. Also, don't forget to subscribe. We just hit 50,000 subscribers in the last day or so. So thank you all very much. Hit that subscribe, and notify buttons. Much appreciated. Helps us grow the channel. And then if you want to take part in the room and see what we do all day long, we do let you guys see a little bit of the opening trading. But if you'd like to come in the room and see what we do all day, you can use the promo code premarket24. Just go to the homepage, bearbulltraders.com. Scroll down until you see that test drive button that you see on the screen there. You can hit that, use that promo code, and that'll get you a discount off the intro membership, which is 7 calendar days, 5 trading days, which it cancels after that. It doesn't turn into anything else. You actively have to go choose another membership category to continue on. And speaking of membership categories, if you want to get if you want to become an elite member, get access to all of the webinar content I just described, use the promo code SUMMER40, and that'll get you access to everything at a 40% discount on the annual elite membership.
All right. Hey, thanks. Thank you, Norm, for going all through that. That's really exciting to hear about breaking 50K on the tube. That's pretty awesome.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody out there in YouTube land for all of the help there. You guys have been super active with the super chats and the likes and the good stuff like that. We really, really appreciate it. Hey, thanks, Vivek. Just actually threw us in a nice little $35 for a better future.
$35 bomb.
That's
Thank you.
Beautiful. My goodness. Thank you so much for that. So getting this month started off pretty nice already on the chats. And I agree. That's a really, really good cause to go after. I'm excited to hear what the final numbers are for last month. I think we did pretty good.
It should be. Yeah, I think it will be, especially after the match. But hey, I want to say something. And I know I'll tell you, I've gotten a ton of emails from people recommending charities, which I sincerely appreciate. Please, I beg you, don't get your feelings hurt if I don't pick your charity. I am trying to do this in the most ethical, transparent way possible. So picking large national charities that are top rated on Charity Navigator for causes that, a lot of people are behind. Just understand that if you email me, that's the case. Thor, for instance, Thor knows a couple of local autism charities, kind of did last month in his, and he suggested one. I said, I'd love to, buddy. And I may personally donate to that, or Andrew might. But this whole thing started because we didn't quite know what to do with super chat revenue and didn't anticipate it or, expect to make money off the show. And I thought of that to do something good with the money. But it's all going to national stuff where none of us really have an interest other than the cause itself. So Just a heads up on that. And thank you all very much.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. That was definitely the right call on that. I remember when we talked about that, I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know if this would be like kind of a deal or not, but I know a couple, and then you kind of said that, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense because we just want to help. We're not really trying to make sure we help any one particular area. So
Yeah.
I agree. I love the idea of getting
And
it
this
out
is
just to these
Childhood
big.
Cancer Awareness
Yeah.
Month. Next month is Breast Cancer Awareness. I believe there's another. So I mean,
Yeah.
we'll be doing
We
things
got it.
along those lines. Some of these months have no chairs. So anyway, thank you all very much.
All right, awesome, cool. All right, guys, well let's get jumping into some levels here. We'll walk through those. I'll try and get through the ones I have as quickly as possible, and then we will try and grab a few more from the room and/or YouTube, and then we'll have some live trading with Andrew and Brian. So first thing I want to take a look at quick before we just really get going is I want to take a look at the SPY. The SPY is pressing quite a bit this morning in the pre-market, and it is rallying, and it is finding itself above R4. The one concern I have is it's doing it on, I don't know what the current, I'll have to pull it, or if someone in the room doesn't mind doing it. I'm not sure what the volume on the SPY is right now, but it does not look really impressive. So we find ourselves rallying, but on low volume, and that always kind of has me second guessing things a little bit. So 320K. I mean, I guess not horrible. Thanks, Ed. I guess not horrible, but it's not like we've already traded a couple million shares of the ETF already. You know what I mean? Hey, Mr. Wandrew, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Let's see. So let's start off first with just start hitting some stuff on the list. We have CHPT, which is ChargePoint. I actually really like the daily on ChargePoint. The reason why is because of this big accumulation candle that happened here yesterday before the news. We had a significant buy-in on a narrow range. Then we find ourselves gapping. So that definitely someone was ready for it. They got in, and then we moved. If depending on what we do with these, right, a lot of the times you get a gap and then it fills, or you can get a gap and go. We'll prepare for both. If it ends up being a gap and go, pre-market high is going to be a really good level to try and play. And I would really look for it to pull back somewhere right around here. Actually, you know what? Let's just do $24. See where that lies. My not placing very precise today, DOS. All right, there we go. Yeah. So look how 24 cuts right through the bottom of all these candles. It gets some tests, right? And then we've got some top candles just short of it. Look, tops of this candle, body candle, right there, wick bottom of that candle. I really like $24. So my thing, I would probably watch for it. I'd actually watch for this to sell back towards $24, which happens to be dead center of the pivot range, right? And then if it bounces there and holds, look for it to go and then make an R4 breakout and run upwards. If it manages to rally too early or it stays in this level, look for that fade, and it might move down. If it does, your critical levels to be watching for that fade are going to be heading down somewhere around this value area, right around 23.20, somewhere in there. All right, NKLA. I have had some success with NKLA, but lately it just hasn't traded that well for me. But we have this obviously kind of like high area here where we've tried to test and break, where we failed and came back down. We find ourselves retesting that area already. So I'm going to be definitely watching that. If for some reason we don't go up and try to break that level, the main ones I'm going to be looking at are levels like previous day's high, for instance, right back down here near $11, right? You can see we have the top of this range right here. Let's dial that in just a little bit more. There we go. So 11 to 11.10, I'm going to look for it to come and test and hold that. If not, this whole next candle is in play. We can just gap and then fill. There, we have a different word for that I won't use on YouTube for what happens when it gap and fills. There's gap and go, and then gap and, well, it rhymes with gap, but it starts with CR. So that can always happen. Right here to the top side, this is the Bitcoin deal. Looks like it could break. I'm really just going to be watching previous day's close if it starts to sell down, right? And then I'm going to look for pre-market high and previous day's highs for breaks. That one's going to be pretty easy. BABA is what I'm really interested in. Um, one of Baba, that's funny. Baba is one of the ones that I'm really interested in. For everyone in YouTube, I'm reading two chats right now. So I'm reading the YouTube chat and I'm also reading the Variable Traders chat. So if random laughter occurs, that's because somebody in BBT said something really funny. It's a party over here sometimes. You can see here we got this really nice level cutting through these two candles right here. Hits the top of this wick. Hits right there. We've back tested it today. Really like that level, and then that's putting us into this kind of this little small gap here. So I'm going to look for it to come to the close of that candle. I really like using closes. I think it's a big line in the sand for any stock from day to day where it closed. So as I like to go back in history, I really like to see where candle closes are lining up with test levels, and that always seems to be good, really good levels for me. So if for some reason we just go on a big tear today, I'm going to look for it to come somewhere around, let's see, that's the open there. See, I want it a little higher than that. I'm thinking right about there. Oh, no, it didn't line up right there. Right on the close of that candle. That splits this candle, but then that gives me some tests. That gives me the open of this candle, right? Cuts through there. I like that. So there's some levels on Baba. I'm going to create one more list down here in the bottom where I'm going to actually put the stocks I'm going to watch. Baba is definitely one that I'm going to be watching today. American Eagle Outfitters is one that will make it onto my watch list as well. It's retail, it's gap down heavy, and these can often offer some really good plays. The one thing I'm going to look for maybe is a good squeeze at the open to see if it rallies up. But right now you can see we've been on a really nice uptrend for a really long time. We find ourselves on AEO really far above the average price and way above value, right? VPOC on this thing on the daily goes all the way back down to $10. So the average price paid even though is $17.71. So there's definitely plenty of downside here. The one thing that I'm really looking at is this candle right back here. Right? Notice how this candle, we have a top range that comes in here and then it breaks out and then it tests and then runs, right? So this was a really critical test point right here back in March. So I'm really interested in this test point. If this happens to go through it, short seems very plausible. If it bounces off of it, then I'm going to look for it to run back up the top of this range and do something like move back up to this area, 28.89 or something like that, because we can certainly gap and then fill the other direction. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. If that loses there, then I would look for it to go lower all the way down. You see this high value area right about there at 22.61, which splits through there. I like that a lot. All right, Chewy. I'm going to go ahead and I don't have a lot of things that I'm really liking off of this list, so I'm going to put Chewy on here for now. I may switch that to a secondary item. But I have played Chewy when it was in Catalyst, and it's had some really strong gap downs and moves. You can see when it sold off here, it had a big sell day. Sold off here, had a big sell day as it moved down. So Chewy can move when it gets it. We've got earnings, we've got a gap. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. Most relevant levels, if we start to squeeze, is I'll look for it to come back up to 81.50 at the bottom of that range. But if we hold here and make new lows, then obvious areas is this high value area right down here at 75. There we go. Right down at 75. Right. So if it loses pre-market low, for instance, I'm going to look for this thing to run to 75. All right. AI, I'm not a huge fan of. I do like this like topside distribution yesterday and then the big gap down. But not sure, how into that one I am. For now, I would personally, I'd be using the squeeze up to pre-market high if it holds that continued drop. If not, pre-market low is going to be a really good level for you. And then from there, we can go down. Notice we've got some candle tops here. We've obviously set kind of like a range bottom and then all the way down. No reason to hold this one too tight. If it gets selling after that volume sell up there, if this thing goes down, I think we could expect some downside to it for sure. I do notice we have this little test level coming through here, right there. So we've kind of wicked through, tried it, wicked through, and then we bounced, and then we kind of died off that level. And I noticed that kind of lines up right in here. So I do want to keep that. If we squeeze, that might be a spot to either consider a long or a short, might pivot there. All right, let's see. The low floats, be big, still doing the same thing. GSM's been a straight runner for quite a few days, but intraday trading action hasn't been great. Let's see here. Someone in the room called out Dell. I'm gonna start. Let's hit a couple of these room called out ones now. Dell looks really bad in the pre-market as far as volume goes, bro. In the middle of the candle here, I probably am not going to be taking a look at that one. Apple, see, it did that slow volume rise, now finds itself giving some stuff back. Level 2 looks pretty balanced on this one, so it may just chop a lot at the open. For me on Apple, I'm gonna be playing or planning on looking at, if I play it, I would be looking at previous day's close, right? Which is, oh, I went to the wrong. Previous day's close, I think, could come into play later if it starts to sell back down. But right now, where you find yourself, I'd be using pre-market high, because your gap to fit, if it can't get through R3 / like pre-market high, right, then I would look for it to fade. Otherwise, I mean, it's fairly obvious, which pre-market high is right about there. Other than that, the big obvious move is going to be the breakout of this guy right here. Can we make it through the high of yesterday? All right, let's see here. AMC. I'm not liking the volume on AMC right now. Same with Tesla, same with MU, same with HRC. HRC is the cash buyout that Norm was talking about. The only level I've really marked is I marked 156. Just so I remember where that's at. If I did decide to play this thing, the only thing I'd do would be to buy it long probably and let it run up towards 156 and then sell it. But I mean, right now, I agree with Norm. That just doesn't seem like a great idea. All right, so let's pop out anything out there in the room that everyone is liking out there. I'll take a couple from the YouTube and couple from the chain. Affirm and Dkng from the room. Let's see. I'll do 4. All right. Affirm. I just forgot the ticker. AFFRM. Hold on. AFRM. All right, and from the YouTube, Penny's asking for DD. Didn't we already do CH? I think I already did CHPT, but I'll do, maybe I didn't put it on the list. CHPT. All right, and then someone room Dkng. All right, so Dkng, no pre-market volume at all. Trading a very narrow range right now. The only thing I would wait, if volume and order flow comes in on Dkng, I would look for it to rally a little bit and then maybe fade. But you got a super narrow range here, so it does not look like it's been moving a whole lot. So, and then let's see, Affirm. Affirm has been waiting to do his breakout. You got low volume on your pullback. If you can break previous day's high, I think you're good. CHPT, we already did levels on. And DD, DD's got a really strong move. I actually might keep an eye on DD. I like that. R1 and R2, use these pre-market high and low levels. That'd be pretty good for you there. Over in the moderators room, and then I will switch over some live trading with Andrew and Brian. Looks like we have so no IPOs. We got some SPACs. Andrew's going to be watching BABA, CHPT, AMC, NKLA, HRC, BBIG, GSM, and FCUV. For John, BABA, and Facebook. Facebook performed really well yesterday. I might need to take a look at that later. Watch for DEMA, Apple, and CHPT, Tiffany, CHPT, AEO, HRC, and BABA, Brian, CHPT, AEO, Chewy, AI, NKLA, Billy, and OMQS. All right, everybody. I am going to go ahead and get a couple things set up here. I'm still waiting on... let's see. I've got Andrew. I'm still waiting on Brian to come in, so we still got a couple of minutes here before he gets in. So I'll go ahead and take a look at a couple more tickers then while we are waiting on that. LCID, I've seen called in both the room and on YouTube. My watch list right now, by the way, is Baba, AEO, and Chewy. Let's see here. LCID. So, I probably will be watching LCID today. Lucid, Evie in general had a really big bounce yesterday. I really like the pre-market action on this one. I love the candle yesterday on this big and gold, like buying up candle, closed high in its range. So LCID could be a lot of fun today. I definitely going to keep an eye on that. So for me, the main levels, obviously, we gap down from here. So this thing's going to want to run for $20 if it can. Right now, we find itself sitting here, so I'm going to look for it to break previous day's high. That's going to really be a key level for this one. And you can see we've already moved right into that level before, right? And now we find ourselves holding. So if we can't break through previous day's high, then you could look for it to fade back towards 17. But previous day's high, this is going to be the level through 1841. If we break through there, then we could look to fill this gap between 1840 and $20. So that's pretty cool. I like that. Hey, you're welcome, Think. All right, we got the Prophet of Profit in the house. Let's see here. Hey, good morning, Brian. How's it going?
Hey, good morning. I'm good. How's everyone doing this morning?
I'm doing awesome. Got some stuff moving around today, that's for sure.
Yeah. Chewy, we were watching Chewy. It reported after the close. Obviously not numbers that everyone was hoping for, but it's trading above the VWAP now, so we might get another move here like Lucid yesterday where we were capping down and then had a nice run higher. AI is looking weak, kind of like that one for possible rising devil. Same with AEO. Good morning.
How are you,
Bobby
Brian?
capped
It
up
seems that you're
again.
cold.
Good. Nope. It seems I'm cold.
Yeah.
Just put on the first thing that I could find, so I wasn't naked.
So let me tell you something funny. On that account, I tried to sell some of the TNA that I have, and the bastards see how they actually filled my order. So do you see this big candle? Everyone should be able to see my screen if you switch from door. Do you see this candlestick? This is me, bastard. They feel me like that. For some reason, I pressed the market order here. So I pressed the market order. You can see the order is actually got filled. And then they filled me at 93.30 something as well here, bastards.
Jeez.
So that's another reason that don't use market orders. The microphone.
It was like those pay for order flow. One of those things.
No, I'm gonna fix it. Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah.
Yeah, Chewy's popping up here. It looks like the buyers are stepping in. It's going to be an interesting open for Chewy.
What about now, guys? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. It's not as echoey.
Yeah, it was getting camera, webcam, microphone.
So we'll watch.
All right.
I'm going to watch OMQS. It's gapping up quite a bit, but I won't chase it at the open. But I'm just going to wait for it to maybe pull back, find a level, like you usually do. These stocks. I think this is a low float stock, isn't it?
Must be.
Yeah, 5.5 million shares. Yeah.
DIG. So we have tons to watch today. Baba is up
What's
to another 2%.
what's yeah, I know. I'm wishing I'd kept some. I have a feeling that this is gonna. I think it's gonna kind of run out of steam today. It needs a little bit of a correction.
CHP. What's your watch list? CHP AEO. You put AEO in there as well, huh? I didn't see AEO.
Yeah, could be a possible rising devil. I'm gonna see how it closes or how it works out in these last 5 minutes.
CRT. I need more screen. HRC. HRC. No.
What's the news on Nikola?
Nothing. They produce nothing. Newest news is they haven't done
Okay.
anything.
It seems to be. It's making a move here. I don't know why. It's up in the pre-market. Oh, battery deal. Okay.
AEO is popping out, yeah.
Bosch. Okay. Yeah. AEO just popped above the VWAP, so it kind of invalidates it as a rising devil trade.
BBIG is coming above the VWAP. Potential something. GSM, if it comes above the VWAP, potential open range breakout. BBIG, gonna take a look at the price action. Everyone should also be able to see my screen. So, oh no.
It looks interesting. It's kind of off here.
Everyone should be able to see my screen, guys. So if you switch your screen from Thor to my screen, you should be able to see my screen. I have news for you. I changed my office from the other office to this one, so no more garbage truck.
Oh. What are we going to do with the low float stuff?
We put them. That's true. I don't know. And Dylan says unsubscribe.
Okay, so things are starting to shape up a little bit here. Last couple minutes. I'm looking at CHPT. It kind of looks weak. And Billy's really popping here.
GSM, interesting. FCUV. So which one gets the order flow? I don't like the SPRT that much.
Two played out already.
So I'm looking for some order flow in the opening range break up or breakdown. Baba is a potential. Any level on Baba?
I feel like
we have this
these are
179 something. Yeah.
I feel like these
Go
are
ahead.
going to be choppy. I just feel like they might be choppy at the open just because they've run up so much. Just Just a feel. Just a feeling.
Well, we'll see about it. Definitely.
Yeah, we'll see. We shall see.
We shall see. OMQS is interesting too. If it gets good volume and if it doesn't get messy, it has the potential on it. I can replace. Yeah, I'll take a look at it as well. Daily chart already popped up above this level. Is it all-time high? No, it's not. It's like an all-time high. Back in 2011. Nee. Ja. Ich weiß nicht anymore. TNA. All right, so the market is open, guys.
Market's open here. I'm looking at CHPT. Just shorted it. That was fast.
CHPT. Brian, CHPT short. Looking at AMC.
Just because it's so weak. Yeah, here we go. Just going to cover some right here.
Not much volume on OMQS. AMC is a candidate for a long if it comes above the VWAP. BBIG.
It's covered some more.
I like the FCUV volume too. I really like FCUV volume. See if FCUV. See if FCUV. If it closes above the VWAP potential, long on it. FOMO is real, but I'll see.
It's covered some more at 33.
Taking a long on FCUV. Let's see.
Chewy's
break of high of the day. Sold. 2364. Sold. FCUV 1 minute opening range break up. I'm done. FCUV was a classic 1 minute opening range break up. I loved it. I still have 1,000 shares left. Let's see if we can hold it. I should have taken more size. Bastard. No. Yeah, I'm getting out of it completely. Yeah, I made $4,000 on it, so that was pretty good from 22.90 all the way up to 24.50. Handcuffs, Megan, handcuffs. That was it.
Still holding some CHPT. Woo! Here we go. Covered some more there, just on that drop below 30.23.
Baba short.
All right. Yeah, Chewy looks like a short.
I love the XUV. The volume was amazing on it.
Does look a little shorty. I'm not sure that I'm not going to chase it around. Chewy looks choppy. Chewy choppy.
So FCUV, let's see if it's going to go for the next pop, but I'm not touching it. See, couldn't get the VWAP.
Where'd you come up with FCOV? I didn't even see that.
Well, how come nobody has FCUV in their watch list? It was in our gappers.
FCUV. I saw GSM after. Still watching charge points, kind of getting pretty extended here to the downside.
Nice, Greg. Nice. Very nice.
Pop.
Greg, congratulations on being a 4-star general. Greg is now officially a 4-star general.
Yay. AEO's looking like it's trying to pop up here. Chewy's just Chewy's just choppy. Try getting some AEO here at 27.33. I'm gonna cover the rest of my CHBT here.
There's a nice
Feels
short
like
on
it's
it.
gonna jump up here.
Brian used to say that I don't short the strongest stock.
Well, this was a lead balloon trade, so it was. It's a trade you don't see very often, but it's when the stock's gapping up, and then it just shows a lot of weakness just before the open. Trades below the VWAP. I would, if it had been strong right from the open, I wouldn't have shorted it. But see, it's bouncing back now.
This PRT is popping up.
Still waiting for
PRT is potential. PRT
yeah,
might stay in play.
Apple's popping up here.
FCUV again hit the scan. FUC. I hit the scanner one more time with volume. FCUV potential. Another breakout on it. 24. Taking another long on FCUV at 24.78. I might regret doing that, but I'm long 24.78. See if you can go to 25.
Just I'm getting out of AEO. I think, I just don't like the way it's trading. It's kind of flat on that trade.
No. Damn it. Damn it, I'm getting it stopped out on it. Oh, I lost. I profit on it. That was a perfect example of having a handcuff. Damn it. I hate myself now.
mRNA's going.
Damn it. $4,000 loss turned out to be $9,000 profit. Idiots. Why did you jump back in there? I am an idiot.
Yeah,
I don't think I can recover this one. Baba wasn't near it. That was a really brutal drop.
I'm out of the rest. They got out of the rest of this K-Web swing right now. I think we're due for a bit of a pullback here on some of these Chinese stocks. It was a great run while it lasted. Billy's gone red on the day.
Damn it. Shui, that was a really nice short on R1.
Yeah. Again, Chewy's just choppy.
AMC turned out to be a really nice short. Thinking of shorting in
AMC was a short yesterday. IWM selling off here.
As usual. I messed up the whole thing. I just showed you in front of you that the importance of handcuffs. Yeah, AMC is a short. I'm trying to find an entry on it. That was brutal. AMC. AMC has some room to the short side. Taking the short on AMC, 43.
Yeah, I don't trust. I don't like AEO. I can't tell which direction it's going to go. Oh, CHPT. There's another drop there. Nice.
Adding a little bit more on AMC on this short. See if we can get one more drop on it. This level, if it cracks it, it might go to 42. Eventually, I have.
Lots of opportunities here. I should have added back to my short on that CHPT.
Yeah, CHPT is really weak.
Yeah.
Baba is going to go down more.
Yeah, I think Baba's going to go red too. Well, I exited out of those. I could have had caught that pop this morning, but on Baba, but I knew it was due for a pullback. I knew it. See, Chewy's finally starting to make a move here.
Let's see what AMC is doing. Looks like it wants to bounce.
Well, 920 trades. When I'm not looking for a 920 trade until probably another half hour, 20 minutes or so. I mean, we need an established uptrend or downtrend.
AMC, apparently, I'm getting out of AMC. It just seems that it's holding this level. It looks like it's holding this level. FCUB. Wow, what an amazing trade I had. And I just.
Try Chewy long again here at 80.60. See if we can break through this R2 level. Why I'm trading an NYSE stock. AEO is going to pop again here. Come on, let's get through 81 now. Still stalling out at that R2 level on the camera level. Just Chewy. Just trying to see if it can go through 81. Billy's popping back up. That's it. Baba maybe. What's Baba doing? Baba still looks a little on the weak side.
see the garbage. CHPT might have found the bottom.
Might be a little early.
For CHPT, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll see. It might come back to the, if it comes back to the 20, probably a good place to short it. Or the 9, I should say. 9 moving average. It's up around 23 right now.
BBIG is squeezed above the VWAP. Potential and long on it. See it. Take a look at it. Taking a long on BBIG at 920.
Getting out of Chewy. I don't like the way it's taking its time getting through here.
Let's see if BBIG can go to red to green. Long BBIG at 920. See if we can hold this pop.
Wow, SPY just ripped higher.
Getting out of BBIG. I'm getting out of BBIG. Didn't have enough juice, momentum to move up. Yeah, these bastards. Yeah, I think I should cut it a day. It's just my losses are getting worse and worse. It's just not working anything. I should have touched it. Damn it.
Just watching Chip now. Chip T, CHPT. It's right at the 9 moving average.
CHPT?
Yeah. To see if it gets over 23, pop up over 23, I'll short it again. Might even short it here. I'll try a short here, 22.88. 22.86 filled. Back up the garbage truck for Chewy.
Come on.
Here we go. I'm going to cover half here at 22.74. just in case this thing has decided to turn around here.
AMC might go long. BBIG might go back up. Looks like it wants to do one more time. I'm getting another long on BBIG at 917. Might regret doing that, but let's see if this time can go. Adding a little bit more on it at 920.
Just covered some more at 22.70. 2267 filled. Here we go. It's right at this, it's sitting right on this fair value line. So if we can break that, I'll be happy. I'm still short CHPT. Still, that's the only trade I'm in right now. So I'm just going to hold on to this, and I'll stop out if we get back up over 2280. CHPT, the moneymaker today for me.
Let's see if PBIG can pop from 915. Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, yeah, it's been pretty good. I love the way it broke down going
I got
into
out
the
of
open.
PBIG again. Stopped out on it again. Just didn't
Nice,
happen.
Mego.
Fuck that. I gotta stop trading, to be honest with you. I just keep losing money everywhere, left and right. Everything that I touch is just...
Nice, Meg. You even caught that in the pre-market by the looks of it. The longer it's holding here, the less likely it is it's going to roll over. So I'm kind of thinking about maybe getting out of the rest.
You're short, huh?
I'm short, but I'm probably going to go long here because it looks like it's going to break out.
Yeah, I was thinking of a potential long on it. Just taking a long at 2280, 70.
Yeah, I'm long. I flipped my position to long now. Here we go. So we've got the VWAP just over 28 or 23, I should say. Excuse me.
Yeah, 28.
Need new glasses. Need new
I was
glasses.
wondering,
The
what are you
threes look like
trading?
threes look like an 8. So we're breaking above the 9 moving average right now. So the 20 moving average is well above the VWAP. We've got an S3. We've got this S3 line right at 2309. So we'll be looking for a break at 23 here.
Yeah, I'm also taking a short on AMC for the break flow of the day at 2288, 4288. Sorry, let's see. This one can go up to 23. That would be nice. The AMC eventually wants to.
Oh, okay. Let's see here. What do we got?
FCUD eventually broke.
Yeah, I'm sitting at 2302 for a fill. Got my order in. Here we go. Filled.
So, yeah, AMC is gonna. AMC eventually lost it, so I'm gonna see if you can get S1 to S2 on AMC.
Chewy. Don't trust Chewy. Chewy's a piece of crap. It's an NYSE stock. They're just playing with it.
AMC 40 to 60. Let's see if you can get to S2.
Just I think I'm going to sell some more of my CHPT long right here, 2303, just because we're banging up against the VWAP right now. Hey, this has been a good. CHPT has been played it both ways now.
You killed it both ways. Yeah, good for you, brother.
Yes, except I really missed that second leg down. That was not. That wasn't cool. Should have known that was an ABCD pattern. Jeff.
I seriously bring my handcuff to the office next time. I have no kidding with anyone. Judge me, whatever you want to do. I don't care. Judge me. It's just. Man, if it was after that, I'm down like how much? $16,000. I was up $5,000.
Well, I know.
Yeah. I told you handcuff, and I just didn't do it.
Dang. Yeah, this F cov thing is it's really.
I mean, it was awesome as a 1 minute range breakout, and after that, it just turned out to be a mess. I mean, AMC is good. I'm still short.
Seems if like these things don't fall. If they don't follow through, they just they end up being. If they don't get a nice follow through right away, they end up being choppy. I'd even be watching for this for another 15 or 20 minutes, see if it starts to consolidate at a level. I'm still keeping an eye on OMQS. It's just volumes dropping off. It just seems to be holding 13 sort of 50, 60 area. So just keep an eye on that because I think it has the potential to pop up here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I should have really stopped trading after that and give you the perfect. I mean, that's how you lose money. It's just you take a trade that you shouldn't take the trade, and then it just brings up. And I took a big size on it, and AMC is doing. I think AMC might go to 42 today. We really don't have much levels down here all the way up to. Yeah, I would say 42, definitely. I don't see any other. But if you break the S2, then it might be high risk as well. I might hold this a little bit.
haven't been looking at my
CHPT. I don't know if it might be a good place to add or not on it. Might be become that lightning pattern that
Oh, yeah. The problem with OMQS, now that I'm looking at it, the spread on it between the bid and ask is horrible. So I'm not really too inclined to trade that.
Baba might go break the low of the day. There's a very good chance that Baba goes red.
All the Chinese stocks are all red.
I'm adding some to CHB at 23. See if it has the potential to become this lightning bolt pattern that Peter has. My new average is at 22.95, so not great. Okay, good popping up. Let's come here. Yeah, so no, the PCD bootcamp Abiel is full, so not we don't have any spot anymore left. Yeah, thanks so much for the people who sign up. Next week we start. We actually full the bootcamp.
Dang, I wanted to jump in there too.
Jump on who?
I wanted to jump into the bootcamp.
Oh no. Well,
Oh no.
you're welcome to join, of course.
I'll just lower the IQ in the room. Yeah, look at Chewy's looking, or CHPT is looking like it's actually going to try to break through the VWAP here now. Maybe a bit of a like Peter's lightning bolt pattern. Is that what you're talking about?
That's what I was hoping to get.
Yeah. It came down. See now it used the 9 as support. So this 9 moving average. I still say this is magic.
Yeah, so the next boot camp would be in January next year, and the information all is on the website, so you could you could take a look at it. Yeah, Thor, thank you so much. YouTube guys, thank you so much. Appreciate that. That was the live presentation of having a good trade and then losing it all. So I hope that you had a better day than me. I have some profit on CHPT and AMC, but there's no way near I come to break even today unless something crazy starts moving and I go aggressive. But I think today is gonna be at least a $10,000 loss or something like that. Just turned out to be a horrible day for me. Yeah, take it easy, guys, and YouTube. Hopefully you join us at least for a trial, and we'll see how it goes. Thanks, guys. Oh yeah, this is good. Let me actually
Yeah, CHPT is going.